This sharing business is interesting.
Ooh.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
look,
do you
look,
have one slide?
Yep.
yeah, let's see progression.
Right. Okay. So, what I'm going to try and do is show you what it's like going cross country. I don't want to get into what other people tend to show you. Sorry. I'm going to come out of that again and try and, because the slide's jumping about a bit. I don't want to go into the stuff that you can find in books, and I don't want to go into the stuff that you can find on YouTube, because how to thermal and how to go around in circles, there's been endlessly written by lots of different people who are probably far more experienced than I am. So what I want to show you is how I progressed and what it looked like while I was progressing. So this is a nice slide from North-South Cup Day in the lakes, but I'm not going to the lakes today. I've got 3 different sites and 4 different flights to show you. So hopefully we'll trundle on through. Now, your preparation really for cross country starts at home. So there are a number of things I learned over the years. If you've got a new instrument, practice it at home. Phil and I are practicing Fly Sky High at the minute because we're migrating from using the UD. So do practice what you're going to see on the screen when you're flying, you know, how you move from one screen to another and all the usual stuff. Fiddle about with it at home. In the air is not the time to do it. Practice packing your backpack of your harness is something that Tim taught me, Tim Pentreath really. He's done a little YouTube video, I think, on packing his harness. I think he was flying the Lightness at the time. And it was quite small, the backpack. So he wanted to know that it would all go in and be comfortable. Because the thing is, if you don't pack it well and you get in the air, if you're flying for half an hour, it's fine. If you're flying for an hour or more, 2 hours, 3 hours, anything that you've got that's not comfortable that starts digging in your back is going to consume you and take all your concentration, and it's horrible. So sort that out. Sort out your flying clothing. Layering is better. Zips are good because when it's hot on the ground, you know, you're standing there, sweat running down your back as you're waiting to take off. You get high, you get to cloud base, you're there for an hour, a couple of hours. It gets really, really cold. So make sure that you've got layers you can pull up, pull down, zips you can pull up and down, and don't wear a cotton t-shirt. Cotton t-shirts, as Phil will tell you, the only way you wear a cotton t-shirt, walk up the hill, take it off and put a clean one on, because all that will happen with cotton is it gets wet, it gets cold, and it's against your skin for the entire flight, and it's horrible. So something breathable. The in-flight P system, talk to Phil about the one for the gents. He uses, it's not the XCP, which is the one that Cross Country magazine sell, it's the Convene system I think he uses, but he says it's brilliant, keeps you very comfortable. I, as a lady, obviously have to use incontinence pants or pads or something like that, and you can put it on whether you use it or not. It's immaterial, but it's there and it takes away the worry, so that's great. And please do work out how you're going to drink when you're flying, because if you don't and your flight turns out to be a couple of hours longer and you're not drinking, if you're not hydrated, your concentration just goes. So a few little things that you can do well before, like even now. So the night before, all the usual things, check your forecasts, find out who's going where are you going? Are you going here? That you're going to Backham, you're going to Westbury, you know, Bell, where are you going? Look at your proposed downwind route and look far enough ahead. You might only think you're going to fly 10k, but just pretend that you might fly 30 or even 40 and check what airspace is coming up should you fly further than you think. Years ago, when people had paper air maps, they used to fold them, and the tales of people flying off the air map and not being able to refold it in the air or legion. And if you
Mhm.
don't look, even though your instrument will give you the airspace, if you fly into the unknown, trying to work out where you are, what you're doing, what's coming up, if you haven't looked, is a real bore. NOTAMs, obviously, NOTAM info, get them, look and see what's around for the day, so that you know where you shouldn't be going. The night before, I pack all my stuff. I tend to keep my stuff packed. If I use something on the previous flight, then I put it back as soon as I can. It comes from going eventing with horses, where I'd have to pack stuff for the horse, stuff for me, clothes, all sorts of things. So I used to have a trunk with all my competition kit in. And if I used something, as soon as I could, I'd put it back. And then I just pick up the trunk on the day, stick it in the car. So I tend to use the same sort of theory for going flying. If you make sandwiches the night before, it's something less to think about. And don't forget to put in a little bit of cash. Phil had a disaster some years ago when he landed out next to I think a lovely tea shop, and he didn't have a penny on him to pay for a cup of tea and a piece of cake, and he was traumatized by that. So now he carries extra cash in his bag, so he's always ready. Right, on the day on the hill, arrive on site early. It makes you more relaxed if you're there early. Even if you're there too early and you're nearly there and you can stop somewhere and have a cup of tea or something, or a cup of coffee, that's fine. Don't chat to people. Get your stuff ready. And we learned this through the BP Cup. When you're in a competition, there's an almighty scrabble on the hill. Get there, get your stuff out. Unless you're thinking, well, we might move to another hill, which we very rarely do. Get your stuff out, get it sorted, rigged, everything packed away. And the one thing, and I know some of you guys do it, but I don't, because it's time consuming. I don't take my wing off my harness. If you do that, it's extra stress, checking it, double checking it, is it all right? It's extra time. And if you're going to do competitions, then, and you were taking your wing off, you probably stop doing it because it just takes so much longer. So switch everything on. I've started having a sandwich, half a sandwich. Even if it's early in the morning, 10 o'clock, and I don't really want anything, I'll have something, just because if I don't get to eat till 3 or 4 o'clock, it keeps me going. So keep an eye on what everybody's doing around you, people taking off, even if it's less experienced pilots, just tells you what the air's doing. And then check your instruments are all on, clip in and go. Other people do things differently. That's the way I do it. Okay, so this is Kettle Sings. Some of you might have flown from Kettle Sings on the Malvern Hills. Some of you might never have been there. This was in 2014, and I'd been flying reasonably successfully cross country for a number of years, not going very far, mostly sort of localish flights from Backham and Bell, and nothing major. I hadn't flown over 50k, but I could reliably fly 25, 30, maybe 40. 50k is one of those numbers that, oh wow, that's amazing. Kettle Sings is a spine back. Worcester Beacon is another site, which is down here. Takes an easterly, lovely, beautiful hill. It's one of my favourite hills for flying. You've got the showground out in front. There is a landing option out here, which the hangies will take. We tend to, this poor chap's going in here. This is the bottom landing field. It slopes. If you're not getting a thermal and you can't get up, you'll end up down there. You can walk back up, get a lift back up, whatever. Anyway, this is takeoff. And this particular day wasn't hugely busy. It's a few years ago. It was middle of the week and it wasn't massively busy. There were 3 of us had gone up together. Anyway, sky is, what I want to show you are skies. And what I didn't know when I started is, what's it going to look like? What am I looking for? I can go round in circles, but how do I move on and really start to think about going cross country? So here we go. Over the back, And this is what is over the back. This is sort of heading into Shropshire and Wales. Malvern is here, take off, and we're going this way. So it's humpy bumpy ground. It's not massively hilly, but there are hills, sort of more flatlandy really. So climbing away, we are already far enough back that you might get back to the front, but if you're not going to, if you're starting to go down, you really don't want to head back because you'll be behind this spine back, which will be really not very nice at all. So this is one of the Avon pilots, Ian. Don't know who that was, but anyway, there weren't many of us going away together. And so we just kept on turning, kept on climbing. And this is looking over the back. Sky is a lot of cirrus, a lot of high cloud, but it was amazing how well the day actually worked. So this is looking downwind, and I've lost the others for a minute. There they are. Right, we're still climbing away together. I can't remember whether this guy headed back. He might have headed that way and then chased us afterwards. I can't remember. Anyway, here we go. So again, heading downwind. They grow a lot of strawberries in this area, and there's a massive amount of these sort of plastic greenhouses, I suppose you'd call them, which sort of work sometimes. Little ridge at the back, which doesn't really work properly. But anyway, I'm looking at the sky. It's not massively inspiring, but it's sort of okay. So this looks all right. And we're heading downwind. Here's Ian. He's ahead of me. And so I'm not the fastest in the world when I'm flying cross country, because I tend to go around in circles until I get, well, nearly to cloud base. Not quite, but nearly. And then I'll think about heading on. This particular day, the drift was slow, and I seem to be flying even slower than usual. Anyway, we're heading off. Ian's found something. He's starting to climb, so I'm heading in his direction. And yeah, okay, so we'll climb together. This is the aim. Simon Murphy gave us a talk years and years ago, before I ever started going cross country. And he had two cards through his talk. One said, get high, the other said, stay high. And that was all he did, is he kept on saying, get high, stay high, get high, stay high. So that's a good little mantra if you're not sure what it is you're aiming for. Anyway, Ian's going on again. Sky's looking quite good. Still a lot of cirrus, but yeah, it's looking okay. So we're trundling off downwind, climbing as we go. I'm on speed bar a bit to try and get to the next line of clouds. And this was the first time that I'd gone cross country, and it seemed to be a flight that basically just joined the dots. And I'd never realized before how much flights could join the dots, and that it actually worked. And you can see the sky's looking good, and it just kept working. So I'm on bar, heading for the cloud. Now I'm looking at the clouds, but I'm also keeping an eye on the ground as well. And some people will say to you, in the lower third, you just look at the ground. In the middle, you look at both. And when you're high at cloud base, you just look at the clouds. A friend of mine, Helen, says, look at the clouds. I said, what height do you look at the clouds? She said, about 1 meter. So one of the hangy pilots said to me, there is always something in the sky. Doesn't matter what sort of day it is, there will always be something there. So I try and keep an eye on what's going on everywhere, what's ahead of me. I like to know where I am. I like a decent map on my instrument. I like to know what villages, you know, where I'm heading, which way I'm going. So I'm gliding on and I'm getting low. So I'm starting to hunt anything that's there, I'll take it. And the other thing that I like to be able to do is when I'm circling and climbing, I like to have a point on the ground that I can see that gives me some relationship to which way the thermal's going, what the drift is. If I need to head back upwind, then where have I come from because it's very difficult when you're looking at a scenery like this. It's all squares and green. So something like this is great because it gives you a sort of a little marker. And you can see, have I climbed? Do I need to push more into wind? Where do I think the thermal's coming from? So climbing again and climbing. Yeah, that's climbing. That's good. So keep climbing. Back up and head off again to the next cloud. So this was the first bit of the flight. And when I actually found these, this is screenshots from the XC League. I've zoomed in and this is the climb rate, not the height. So you can see how the climbs are. And it's interesting that they're reasonably spaced. So I thought that was interesting because I've not really looked for anything like that before. So there we go. On again, heading on to the next cloud and turning, circling, heading on to the cloud. And the sky again is not what you'd consider necessarily a classic sky because we haven't got a massive amount of really good sunshine, but in spite of the high cloud, the whole thing is working. There is sun on the ground, there are shadows, and these clouds are working really well. It wasn't a radical day, it was a nice day. I was happy. I'd lost the other glider. I lost him ages before, and so I'm flying on my own, and I always seem to end up on my own somehow. Just tootling it along, not really believing.
Viv, Nick, sorry,
this is
Nick,
working. Yeah.
Nick was asking how far ahead are those clouds you're looking at, and how far ahead are you generally looking?
I'm trying. I mean, this particular flight probably not very far ahead because it's a number of years ago and I hadn't done a huge amount of flying any distance. But now I would be looking a long way ahead and trying to see, are there streets? You know, what's actually happening? And when you get to cloud base, you can't see very far. You'll see better as you're climbing. So this is why I like my stills. And again, these are 10-second stills because I can sit and look at a flight afterwards and see, did I take everything in? Did I miss anything? Videos are lovely. I mean, they're absolutely wonderful and people take fabulous videos. But to me, it all happens too fast. And I want to be able to sit you know, at my leisure with a cup of coffee or something and see what's actually happening. So I would be looking and trying to take in which way should I be going. This particular day, I was probably just focused on this because it's the first time I'd actually really managed to climb, glide. And I was just so overcome with what was going on. I couldn't believe it. I thought, this is easy. I can do this. It's the first time I'd ever been able to do it. I was also at the time a fly bubble team pilot. And when I put my flight in, Carlo said, oh, write it up for me, because it's, you know, it's your first 50K. So again, here, I'm looking at the cloud. Phil always says to me, go for the dark bits. Well, I do, depending on how radical the cloud looks. Otherwise, I don't want to go for the really dark bits, but there you go. Anyway, so here we are again. These clouds all look nice. This is Leominster coming up ahead. Here's a golf course here. And I'm gliding on again. But as I'm gliding on, now I know really what I should have done was I should have got really, really high, right up under the cloud, right to cloud base, right in the wispies, and then glided on. I didn't quite get all the way to cloud base. And then I'd glide on. So I was actually having to work fairly hard to find the climb, then get up, then glide on. So you can see each time I'm not massively high, but it's working. It's okay. You know, I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm happy. So again, here we go. Right, these clouds all look nice. Yep. Back up to cloud base again, turning in circles. And again, you can see the route look. A little bit of climbing, fiddling about, gliding on again. And on we go again over Leinster. And the clouds are just going on and on into the distance. And I got to Leinster and I looked at my map on my, I think it was on my Udi then. And I was like, wow, I'm heading towards Shropshire. How amazing is that? I've flown all this way. I can't believe it. So again, gliding on, higher now, cloud base. Now, this bit here was interesting, and you can see this because this wood on this hill is quite distinctive. So there's a bit of a gap now, and I'm again heading on. Right, okay, these clouds are fine. It's all worked so far. You know, what I'm doing seems to be working, so I'll keep doing it. So I started gliding on, and whether, if I go back one, whether I was on the wrong line here, I don't know, but I started to get really low. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to get any further. This is really sad. I'm going to be down here. And even, oh no, and I started looking here. Oh, probably I'm going to end up landing. And I thought, no, I'm be well not going to land. I'm going to work a little bit harder. So I hunted about and hunted about. And this is a hill. This is quite distinctive. And over here is a quarry. The cloud looks quite nice. And there was a climb here. But I sort of fiddled about, but the quarry took my eye, and people had said, oh yeah, quarries all work. And you can see this cloud looks really nice, but this one's fine. So I could have gone this way, but I headed over here, convinced this quarry's going to work. And this cloud now looks, ooh, that's looking really, really good. So off I went over the quarry. Yeah, got there. And it did work too. It took me up beautifully. Absolutely beautifully. And then this is, we're heading now into Shropshire. Church Stretton's up here, Craven Arms is here. And for some reason, I don't know why, I headed off down this river valley. Instead of sticking on the high ground here, I headed off this way. I have to say, when I was talking about clothing, this particular day I had a couple of t-shirts and a fleece on. And I had a shell jacket on the top, which has been fine for all the flying I've been doing. But at this point, and I've been flying for a while, I think then my flight was, I'd probably been flying for over 2 hours. And I'd been high for most of the time, and I was starting to get really cold, which sort of puts you off a bit. I could hear two others. I had my radio on, and I could hear a couple of others who got nearly to Church Stretton, and they were trying to get onto the hills and carry on. I don't think they got any further, but I could hear them, and I was distracted, and the cloud before over the quarry got a bit bigger, and I was looking at the sky and I was thinking, you know, I don't know. So I carried on a bit further, but I got tired, and I said to myself, I've flown over 50k. The instrument told me I'd flown over 50. So I thought, you know, I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with my flight. I had a lovely time. I'm not going to push it. And again, see, I'd have been into Shropshire and into the decent hills. And if I'd carried on down the other line instead of coming the way I'd gone, I probably would have gone a lot further. But I learned a lot. So here we go. There's me picking a nice big landing field. And that was me down there. But it was a lovely flight. Like I say, it was my first over 50k, and I'd flown, there was some airspace, which again, when I got to Leinster, my instrument was telling me there was a bit of airspace, and I was like, oh dear, am I going to go into it? Not, hopefully not. I'll navigate past it. It was all fine, absolutely fine. That's a screenshot from the XC League, 53.9 open distance, and the league gave me over 60, which was wonderful. My height, as you can see, I was just over 4,000 feet, and I wasn't far off the 4,000 feet for most of the flight. So that I was pleased with that. And yeah, 2 hours, 40 minutes. Max height 4.6, which is probably the longest I've flown at those sort of heights. Max climb 4.5. So yeah, that's that one.
Very
right.
Nice.
Very good, thank you.
Anybody want to know anything else before I go on?
No, I think we're all good.
Okay,
easy.
right. Hang on. Okay, so
I've got a question. You're talking about
Go on
clouds.
Yep.
So when you're heading towards a cloud and you've decided to leave one climb, you've got to the top of one climb and you're going to the next and you're heading towards a cloud. What are you looking for when you approach that next cloud that you think this was the right decision? So that you're going in sync, you're going on glide, and now you've spotted a cloud. So right, I'm heading for that. How does it feel to approach that next cloud? And when you go yes or no, that was bad.
Really well, sort of trial and error, really. Over my flying career, I've ended up landing when I shouldn't. All sorts of things gone wrong. Basically, that particular day, there was hardly any drift, and so if I'd stayed with the cloud and drifted along, there was virtually no drift, so you weren't going to go very far. So I would climb and then I'd move on again. And I was just trying to look for what I thought was the next cloud or the nearest cloud to join up the dots. And I was pretty much going downwind. So if you drift with a cloud and it's moving along and you can't see anything to go for, stay where you are until you can. I think it's Mark Watts. He says, if you can't see anything, you stay where you are and you wait, then the sky will refresh and then it will become more obvious. If you go diving off into the blue or into nothing, that's a really surefire way of going straight to the ground. If you can't see anything, try and be patient. The problem that I have had is while I'm climbing, I've got something to do. Great, I'm climbing, I'm going around in circles, I'm working this climb, I'm trying to work out whether I open out, turn tighter, whatever I do. Once I get to the top of the climb and I get to the cloud, it's like, oh, I have to do something now. And sometimes I don't know what to do, so I just dive off anyway. Phil keeps saying to me, what did you do that for? Well, I don't know. I just did. Sitting under a cloud or sitting at cloud base, not actually doing anything is really quite difficult. And it's fine if it's a nice cloud, but if it's rough up there, once you stop going around in circles, it can get quite gnarly sometimes. And so I tend to dive off. What you should do really is just carry on going around in nice big circles or whatever, and drift with your cloud for a bit. Phil's the man to talk to about this. He's endlessly patient at cloud base. I'm not, but there we go. Anyway, let's go on to the next one. And if there's any others, then ask me again. But some of it might be explained because some of these are later flights that I've done when I've done a bit more. I'm giving you Kettle Sings again, purely and simply because it's a totally different day and it's a completely different sky and it's a totally different route. And this sky was really interesting and it was not very long ago and I learned a massive amount this day as well. Now, this was busy. This was a really, really busy day. And I think, Richard, did you came this day to the hill?
Yeah, I did. It was very busy.
Yeah, there was all the world and his wife out to play this particular day. Lovely sky, yeah, great. All looks wonderful, and everybody's dashing about. And this particular day, we're going this way. Okay, not that way, this way. So here we go. Hunting around, everybody's hunting about, trying to find stuff. I think Phil's there, Tosh is here. There's quite a lot of people out. So we're all hunting and trying to avoid one another. There's Leicester somewhere as well, I think. Right, so this is takeoff. This is looking north. Wind's coming from this direction and we're all trying to head off over the back. So we're climbing up, falling out, going back. And here we are, just about winding up and starting away. So we're over the back. And again, you could glide back from here if you've got the height, climb a bit and then glide back to the front. But again, you really don't want to be in the back of this hill. It's not a good place to be. So Sky is, yeah, okay, we've got a nice bit of sunshine. Clouds are a bit flat. So climbing, and group of us together, and this is fun. If you can all go around together, it is great fun. Once you get a sort of carousel going, it's really, really good. And there are people to watch, and some people will rush off and other people will wait and see what happens. So we're looking downwind, and these clouds are looking flat. 2 people ahead of us. So we're sort of, yeah, heading on. We're reasonable height as we're thermaling. Keeping going, climbing, and clouds are forming. They're not mega clouds, but they're okay. Yeah, this is all right. People are up ahead. The one thing you'll find is if people are ahead of you, if you come in underneath them and you're directly underneath them, you might not actually get the climb. And you might end up just falling away and scrabbling about like mad, trying to find what they're in. If you come in over the top of somebody and they're climbing, you are guaranteed to find it. Chasing people is really, really hard. And if it's windy, the thermal could be at any angle. And it makes it even harder. This particular day, it was working, going off the hill was working quite nicely. Somebody over there, there's these 2. And this is again looking downwind, not looking overly inspiring, but you know, people are going on. This was the guy on the Mac, the Mac Power, the white one. That I think is Tosh. Bit of smoke here. He's gone. So that's, yeah, well, thanks very much. You know, I'll keep an eye on both of you. We were moving on together. If you wait too long, you won't catch people. So you have to decide, are you all going to move on? Are you going to let them go and you might not catch them? Are you going to be left behind? Well, what are you going to do? If you get left behind, you probably won't catch people up again. If you rush off, they'll see what happens to you and they might find the climb and you don't. So it's a bit of a, yeah, bit of a mind game really. Anyway, this climb's okay. This is working. So I'm heading over there as well. They're going round. Yeah, okay, that's fine. This guy with the white wing, he's off again. Right, okay, smoke. Here he goes. And we're all following. So if somebody wants to push on out front, if you're in a competition and you are leading out, you will get what they call lead out points, which can sometimes make the difference, a lot of difference to your place in the competition. And everybody just pimps off you, which is, yeah, a bit unfair really. But anyway, he's starting to climb. They've got a climb there. So there's obviously something here going on quite nicely. So yeah, gliding on again. And you can see now, there is one hell of an inversion here. And this is starting to blue out. So, and my camera has a polarizing filter on. And so you can see these little wispy bits around and about. So again, we've all moved on and we're climbing. This cloud's pushing through this inversion, which is interesting. There's a bit of a contrail there and there's not much of one. So that tells you a bit more about the air. Here's more people up ahead. Now this particular day, not a lot of wind, not a lot of drift, and people were working really, really hard to go cross country, finding stuff, spreading out, finding it, climbing together. And so I'm coming towards them, climbing above me. This is the progress we've made. Again, climbs are reasonably spaced out. Chris and I gliding on together, and you can see the sky doesn't look amazing. It doesn't look classic really. These clouds are all flat. So that tells you what's happening with the day. More people, another gaggle. We actually caught a gaggle that had left a reasonable time in front of us, and we caught them up, which was surprising. So it tells you how slowly everybody was flying. Steve Hammett. That's how I knew it was a different gaggle, because I hadn't seen Steve on the hill. I'd seen him go, but I hadn't seen him in the air. So we caught them. So that's the people who were ahead. So they were flying quite
Viv,
slow.
Tony was asking, how much bar are you using on these glides, or how do you judge how much bar to use?
If I'm trying to get somewhere fairly quickly, I would use full bar. If I'm gliding and hunting, I wouldn't use any bar necessarily. If I'm trying to get to a cloud particularly, but not in a great rush, I'd use half bar. I don't often use full bar. Half bar is fine. That's okay. I don't often use full bar unless I really, really have to. If I'm really in horrible sync and I want to get through it, then I'll, stand on the bar. But it would depend how rough the day is, particularly. If it's a really rough day, then I tend to stay off the bar. I've got on my swing gliders, I've got these handles. So if you're on bar, you can put your hands on these sea bridges, they call them. They bridge the sea lines, and you can use them for steering if you're on bar rather than using your brakes. Doesn't disturb the glider so much. It's not like the handles they got on the more advanced swings, but it works quite well. That's quite good. So again, you can see the inversion here. They're climbing. Steve's a bit higher. We're up more or less the same height. Now, at this point, I'll show you back to this one. They're all together, and they took off in a different direction. Now, as I was in that thermal with them all, I was looking more sort of in a southwesterly direction, I suppose, and I saw this. Now, somebody, and I think it might have been Ken Wilkinson, because he's really good on skies, he'd said something about haze caps, and I'd never really, I've looked for them. What the devil are these haze caps? And haze caps are things, and I don't know whether these are haze caps, but this is what I'm calling haze caps. They push through an inversion, and you can see them, and it's like, oh, okay. Now, to me, they were all going this way, and I was looking this way towards Hereford, and I thought, this looks interesting, and this looks close enough that I could actually get there. So I decided that I'd let them go on their way, and I'd go in the other direction, because I thought, I reckon I could get to that, and I'll see whether or not it works. And so I headed over there, and as I got closer, that looked more like a cloud, and more like a cloud. The closer I got, and it worked. Wow. Hey, I've learned something today. And it wasn't a lot, it was just scrappy little bits, but because of the inversion, we weren't really getting the clouds forming in the way that you'd expect. And then I'm looking downwind, this is Hereford coming up, and you can see these little bits. And so I thought, okay, come on, let's have another go. And so off we went again. Can you see them on your screen? Can you see these bits here? I think the photographs have come out, actually. I was quite pleased with them. They came out quite well. Anyway, so I'm heading off. There's another one that's popped up. Oh, this looks all right. So we'll have a go here. And there's some more. And the other side of Hereford, there was, and I was starting to sort of get, yeah, well, I was gliding. What am I there? 2,700. No, 2,270. And I thought, okay, well, let's try it. It might work, it might not. So here, keeping in mind, I'm looking at the ground and I'm looking at the cloud. I'm looking at this stuff, which I think is working. Here, you've got a little hill, you've got a river, and you've got a line of trees. So that's where I'm going. And this looks more promising, given what I've already found with the day. So here we've got our river and our hill. Yeah. And bearing in mind, I like to have something as a sort of point of reference on the ground. This looked like a reasonable little estate or something there. And so as I went round in circles, it took me up. And then, woo, look, cloud all of a sudden, poof, and there it was. There's my river. I've come from here, coming this way. There we go, there's the river. And I'm going on again. And there's more of these. I was getting quite keen on this. I thought, oh, I rather like this. I don't have to worry about being hoofed into a cloud. I can fly like this. So this is the Black Mountains there. Hay Bluff is there. I don't know what this was, some sort of industrial estate or something. But anyway, I've got more of these clouds. So great. I'm keeping going. I like this. There we go. Climbing. There's the climb. There's the cloud. And there's some more. Wow. That's looking back. Hell of an inversion. That's going on. And sadly, at that point, my GoPro ran out, which is a bit sad. So anyway, this was my climbs. These are my climbs to date. So this was the one over the river, which was quite nice. So yeah, they're spaced out and it works. And I landed. I actually got to sort of here, and this is the Cat's Back at the end of the Pandy's down here. This is the end of the Pandy Ridge. This is the Cat's Back. And I was flying this way and I could see another glider, but I didn't know where it was. I didn't know how high it was. It was just a little dot. And it was somewhere around here. Well, I discovered who it was afterwards, and he'd actually gone down to Pandy. Well, I got here and the wind was from the south. So I decided to go this way and see if I could pick anything up along here. I didn't really. And I hadn't at any point got high enough that I was thinking of flying across the Black Mountains, because you need a fair old bit of height to do that. So I wasn't thinking of doing that. And I certainly wouldn't have been in here in the Cat's Back. So I tootled off down here and landed. Flew around the front of Hay Bluff, which is very nice. Had snow on it. There was snow all along here. It was lovely. So that was me. Now this bit here.
Just before you go on to that, Viv.
Yep.
Nick's asking, are you leaving a cloud to go on glide because the current old cloud is dying, or you are close to cloud base, have seen a good cloud ahead in the distance?
I'm climbing that particular day. I was climbing up and poof, there was a little bit of cloud there, but it wasn't lasting very long. They were disappearing fairly quickly. So once I got a bit of height again, I was heading on. And given that we had an inversion, and I went to 3,000 feet, I've got a chart in a minute, so you'll see. I was getting to sort of 3,000-ish each time, and then I would glide on and find something else. So I was just doing what I'd done. And if I got up and over the 3,000, well, that was probably as much height as I was going to get. So I was happy then to glide on. As long as I could see something, and these little funny things popping through, and I thought, oh, I can get to that, I would go.
We seem to have lost Viv for the moment. In fact, everybody seems to have gone. Can anybody hear me?
Richard?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's already done it.
Right, record. Okay. Right, hi everybody. We had slight problems with the internet on our recording of our original talk, so I have a very exclusive audience of Richard and Phil, just to listen to a little bit of a rerun of the bits that we didn't actually get.
Yeah.
So continuing with the flight from Kettle Sings, the slide you're looking at now shows you how close the flight took me to airspace, and the next slide shows you how easy it would be to thermal into the airspace if you're not set up on your instrument. If you haven't looked, you really do need to look, because the thermal would very easily take you across and into the airspace. So make sure when you look at your instruments, you know where you're going, you know what's ahead of you, and if you're getting close, I suggest you try and fly away or push out of that area if you possibly can, because it's quite easy to lose your flight, and if it's a really good flight, you'd be really disappointed, believe you me. So looking at the flight detail then, this again shows you distance, 58k, straight distance, 63 on the Tesco points. And looking at the height, because of the inversion, I think I popped through a couple of times, but in the main, not making a massive amount of height, but a very happy flight for all that. Again, more detail here, and you can see the climb, max climb, minimum climb, max height 3.6. So not great height, but 3 hours, 3.5 hour flight. So yeah, really happy with that one. So that's the end of the second Kettle Sings one. I'm going to come out of that now. And I'm going to go to the next one. And bear with me a second. And I'll do a new share.
You're looking very grumpy, Phil.
Sorry.
He does
I'm
that.
looking out the window.
He's having to listen again. So there we go. Right. So are you seeing my Parlex slide? Just a
Yes.
single.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Okay. So for those who haven't flown in this part of the world, it's really, really nice. It's Lancashire. We're very close to the coast and Morecambe Bay. This is Parlex, and this was for a BP Cup race to goal. Takeoff is here. This is the south facing takeoff, and then you've got the whole of this hill which faces pretty much west, gets the sea breeze pretty quick. Fair Snape, which is another site, is around here. Goodish long walk up the hill and all the way along, but yeah, very rewarding, very, very nice. So this is what we're going to cross. Our task was 36k race to goal at Kirby Lonsdale, and we're crossing all of this. And I seem to remember, Richard, you asked a question about would you cross it if you were free flying?
Yes.
And the answer is yes, you would. If you got the height, and on this sort of hill, you are never going to be there on your own. There's always going to be local people out. It's a beautiful hill. I think, as Lester said to us, you can fly the east side, which is here, only a small site, really, the east side, which they don't get to fly very often, and it's very close to the coast, really. So Fair Snape is there. We're flying this bit, and we're going this way, across all of this lot. So here we go. Right, so looking, this is looking sort of northwesterly, really. Fair Snape is here. This is the path that you'd follow if you were walking out there. And we're going across here, across this valley here, and over the back here. So this is looking east. If they fly the east face, it's somewhere underneath me, I think. It's a really, really interesting hill to fly. The scenery is fabulous. You've got flats, you've got hills. It's really nice. So we've started to hunt and to climb out. Now, this particular day, the forecast was for it to blow out fairly quickly. So the instruction from our meet director, Gareth, was get in the air, get off the hill fast as you can, because you might find that it's blown out and nothing's going to work because everything's just going to be blown away. So here we are, all hunting around. There were quite a few of us on the hill and some local people. So yeah, cloud base is not massively high, but you know, it's clear of the hills, and if you can get up there and get going, that's good. This is looking over the back. This is the way we're going to go. A couple of other guys making a decent job of hunting. And if you can all get together and climb, it makes you more efficient. You can see what's happening by looking at other people, looking around and seeing, are they going up quicker than you? Do you need to get over there? This, looking across here, this is Morecambe Bay, so you can see how close to the coast this site particularly really is. And again, Morecambe Bay there. So we're spreading out fairly well and hunting and looking. This really is looking over the back. And I think we're taking a couple more turns and then we should be on our way. All of this as Lester said, is there's quite a lot of water here. There's lakes, little mini lakes. It gets very, very wet. There aren't many tracks, and I don't think there's many footpaths, and I wouldn't want to go down there and investigate. I do know that one of the local guys landed over the back. He lost his climb, landed over the back, and it took him 2.5 hours to walk to a road. So, and
Wow.
these valleys are, yeah, bigger than they look. So we're starting to head over the back. We got decent height. We're up at the cloud. It's a big cloud. And with other people around, you wouldn't really want to be going into it because you weren't going to see people really. So we're heading off on our track. Now, I think somebody asked me, can't remember who it was, about what would happen if you were losing your climb. And basically, you'd want to dive either east or west, really. If you dive to the east, you'd be sort of down one of these little valleys here. What's at the bottom, I don't know. Could be a river, could be, you know, just a sort of track. I don't really know. But you'd have to dive left or right. You wouldn't really want to be on the top. So I'm losing height as I'm going, gliding along, but you know, I've still got a reasonable amount of height. But if anything's offered me, I will take it. Brad's ahead of me here and I'm keeping an eye on him. So yeah, keeping on going. And when I got to this point, I could see a lot of white and I couldn't first of all work out what it was. And then I discovered it was masses of seagulls, flocks and flocks of seagulls. And I'm not sure whether they breed here, whether they're feeding here or what they were doing, but there were a lot of them. And unfortunately, the camera hasn't picked them up. Anyway, we're heading off here. This is Hawthornthwaite Fell. We're heading for Tarnbrook Fell, I think it is, and we're going to cross this valley, which is reasonably wide. So, yeah, somebody else. I'm keeping an eye on him, see what he's doing. And oh, yes, a little bit of something. So we're going to start and just see if we can take a few turns and climb and gain a bit of height. Another one of our guys here. I'm looking down at him thinking, well, if he's still going and he's down there, I must be all right up here because I haven't got far to go to get out and into the valley. He's still going and he made it, so that's good. I didn't actually ask him how high he was when he was down there, but it looked pretty low from where I am. And I got somebody else coming up. This guy here is a local guy, so I thought he knows what he's doing. And if he's still going, it's got to be all right. So again, a couple more turns. I lightened up the photos here because it was such a grey day in the end. The camera wasn't making much of it, but there we go. So we're heading off, bit of sun out in the valley here, and we're heading for this fell here, which is big, but we've got to cross the valley. Somebody heading out here. Keep an eye on people. If you're a little bit higher and you can see people, just keep an eye on them and see what's actually happening to them. You know, have they found a climb? Because if somebody's below you, as I said before, and you can get over to them and over the top of them and they're climbing, you will find that climb. Coming underneath somebody's always quite a bit more difficult. So bit of sunshine, keep an eye on the guy in front. And there's somebody else down here, which is a bit low, a bit squeaky.
Looks very low.
Yeah, I think that was Kev. He'd taken a slightly different line, and I don't think he found a vast amount down there. This hill, even though I flew into it and I thought, God, that's a big hill. That's really going to be working. But it's incredibly shallow. And things weren't working. Yeah, again, there he is down there. Shows you how big the hill was. And it wasn't really where we hunted, several of us, 3 of us, 4 of us there for quite some while, hunting about, finding little bits of stuff, but not really enough to work. Not anything that you could really get a grip on. And again, you can see here how shallow this is. And going in close didn't seem to give you much in the way of a climb. So we went in close and we headed back out in the valley, looking at the sky. Is it working? This obviously isn't, because he's not making anything. He's not coming up. So we're just backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. And then I was trying to scratch up over here, and past me went a seagull. And he flew past me quite quickly and turned in a circle and was gone. And I thought, ooh, it was something about the way that he went that I thought he didn't flap, nothing. He was just glide, circle, gone. And I thought, that looks to me like something's happening. Whether it was this pulling, who knows? It was all so grey and it all looks quite broken. So anyway, I followed the seagull. Thought, we've got nothing to lose. And if I land, well, I land here and walk down, that's fine. So I followed the seagull, and amazingly, it was a very shallow climb, but it gradually, it was there and it was working well. And I just kept turning with the other guy following me, and away we went.
When you say shallow climb, Viv, what sort of climb rate were you getting? Can you remember?
I don't know, but the thermal, because of the slope of the hill, the thermal was going in a very shallow way. It wasn't going up straight. It was following the hill almost before it was almost like it was being pulled up the hill before it released at the top. So basically I was just doing a circle and following what my vario was telling me. It kept beeping, so I just kept going the way I was going, trying to open my hand, turn, follow it, and I could see that it was taking me up. So a very, very shallow angle. We might be able to look when we come towards the end and see what the climb rate was at that point. They'd also said to us at the briefing, there's a wind farm here. And I don't like wind farms. They're awfully big things, these windmills. I've seen them at Woolacombe. And I'm really nervous about them. So I was hoping that I wasn't going to be anywhere in the vicinity. But anyway, this is, again, yeah, Morecambe Bay here. And we're climbing up this slope. That's looking to the northeast, I think, there. So yes, here we are, climbed up over the top of this fell again. Here's the wind farm and plenty of height. Sky is, again, amazingly grey. So when people say grey skies don't work, they do. You just have to get up there. There is lift, but you usually, with a grey sky, you have to get up close to the cloud, and then the lift is there. But connecting that with the ground is the tricky bit. If you can get up there and stay there, then do. So yeah, looking at the wind farm, loads of height. My instrument, my UD's telling me go this way. Goal is down here somewhere. So I'm high enough, I'm happy with that. I'll go on a glide. So yeah, here we go. So the climb, yes, was quite strong just here. But again, the slope was shallow. So it was pulling quite nicely up over that slope. And then it obviously released at the top. So yeah, that was our little dibble over the top, just making a little bit of extra height, and then obviously lost it again. But yeah, so that's crossing those fells. So here we go, out over the wind farm and Morecambe Bay again to the left, and heading out under these clouds, not quite so grey, and little bits of sunshine in the distance. Yeah, not a lot of sunshine, so best to stay up as high as you can, really. Looking at these clouds, flat bottom clouds, grey, but yeah, all working. And I could hear other people on the radio further off to the north of us who were flying in other places, so it was obviously working okay. So I'm just heading the way that the instrument's telling me to go, down track to goal, and hopefully make the most of these clouds on the way. So yeah, coming off the wind farm hill here, there was something that was taking me up, so kept turning. I'm always turning right. I'm really bad, unless I have to fly with Lester, in which case I'll turn left. If Lester gets in the climb first, he turns left. I'm terribly one-sided. I have worked on it, but my excuse is I got a dodgy left shoulder, but I don't know how good that is, but there you go. Anyway, river. So keeping on going, climbing up. And as soon as I got some height, because it's a race, it's first one into goal. So you need to get there. You don't want to be overtaken by somebody. So yeah, that's looking okay. And I can see where I'm going. The UDI is counting me down to goal. You'll have your settings, your task settings on your instrument, and it will count you down, telling you how far. We've got an end of speed section where the time stops, your time for your flight stops, and then you've got a goal cylinder within that. So I'm off. Here's Kirby Lonsdale coming up. And right, okay, I have now finished speed, end of speed, hit the end of speed, and I'm looking for a landing in the goal cylinder, which will be somewhere here. Cricket field is favourite for some of the guys. Phil always lands places like that. He likes an audience when he lands. I'm not so keen. I like to land away from people. Sometimes you get surrounded by kids, and I'm always a bit nervous if you're putting your gear down. If there's a lot of children, you can't always see what they're doing, which maybe be a bit unkind. But
that's because Phil spotted the pavilion, and there might be a free beer.
Well, yeah, he's good at that. Phil wasn't flying this day, this particular day. I think it was the year before he started flying, but Ant was in. Was it Ant in there? There was a whole load of them in there anyway. And this bridge here, there's a tea wagon and ice creams and what have you. But I opted for up here and just a little walk down the road. I like to be quiet when I'm landing and packing up. So there we go. That's me into the field.
Nice car.
And sorry, nice, yeah. So yes, just basically topping up. That's all I was doing. Once I'd come over the hill and over the wind farm, I was just topping up sufficient to get me to goal. And I was first to goal, which meant I won this task, which was amazing, really, because I thought there were people ahead of me. I know I don't often do things like that, but yeah, it was really nice. It was a lovely flight, and considering the forecast we had, it was way better than we expected.
It was up there that I did most of my skydiving at a place called
Cork.
At Cork.
Don't know it.
Yeah,
no, don't know it. Yeah, it's a beautiful area to fly. It really is. We had this particular weekend. I think we had 4 flyable days, which was unheard of. We haven't managed that since, but yeah, it was good. Hour and 21 minutes, not a long flight, 34k, and again, not a massive amount of height. That was our first climb, and then scrabbling about, and then that again, you know, reasonable climb. So 4 meters a second max climb, yeah, 4,000 feet max height. So yeah,
lovely flight.
It was good fun, yes. So that is the end of the bit that was missing. So apologies to anybody if we haven't put your questions in this little section, but the next section has got all the questions in, and we've got a little Q&A section at the end. So hopefully Richard is going to be really clever and stitch all this together. Okay,
I'll do my best.
Right, let's go back in. Right, there we go. So that is the end of the task. Nice day. Here we go. Start cylinder, finish, end of speed, and goal. Good height. Well, yeah, sort of 4,000 feet. 36k, 34k distance, and it was fun. Didn't take too long. Hour and 21 minutes, so that was all right. And I won the task. Hey ho, ha ha.
Well done.
Well done.
Yeah, it was good fun. It was the seagull that rescued me, I have to say. But there you go.
What were those 2 circles at the end at goal? Why is there 2?
You get up. I think if we want to do something on tasks, which we'll do, I think that has to be another talk, maybe club thing.
Okay.
And we can talk about how you set up a task and how you fly it. But basically, you have an end of speed, and then a goal cylinder inside. It stops people all rushing for the same place at the last minute, because your time is taken from start of speed to the end of speed. and then you can wander into goal at your leisure. Is the idea with it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Right. So, new share. Right. Are you now in the Peak District?
Yep.
Okay. This is Bradwell. Now I know Tony's flown here.
Yep.
And I think a few people might have. So yeah, this is Bradwell. This is another BP Cup task. This task was a 64k race to goal again. This was an August one. It is a beautiful site. I love Bradwell. Has some nice flights from Bradwell. Flying out of the Peak District is always a bit special. So here we go. Bradwell's here, and we're going. The task is actually on down here beyond. So we're coming out over Chesterfield and this way. And this is a totally different sort of thing from the last one I showed you, because there's a lot of built up area to cross. So yeah, it's all good fun. Right, so here we go. Takeoff is down here. This is the gliding club down here. And when we're flying here for the BP Cup, we're not allowed to cross this gully. These guys, the local club do, they fly this way. But you do have to be careful when they're winching, because winching sailplanes, there's a lot of line out. You could have a really nasty situation, so you don't want to fly across when they're actually winching. But Bradwell works really, really well. You've got the quarry in front, you've got the valley. Bottom landing is down here. They're not allowed to fly over the houses because the residents get very upset. So if you're going into land, you want to stay well clear of the houses. But yeah, and it's a goodish walk back up, which fortunately I've never had to do it yet. So nice sky. Sort of more classic sky, really. And yeah, we're all hunting. Lovely scenery, really super. You're looking at Hope here, just the other side of the quarry, and then Mam Tor is up here. This is Win Hill, Leicester. Is that Win Hill? It is Win Hill. We've cycled around it, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Loose Hill is up here, and there's a saddle in between. So there's lots of flying sites in a very, very short.
And Treek.
Treek, yeah, Treek's round here, isn't it?
Just to the left of Mam Tor.
Yeah, that's right. We can't quite make out Mam. Somewhere up here. So you've got Win Hill, Loose Hill. That's Mam. There's Mam, and then Rush Up and Lords are here. Rush Up faces south, Lords faces north. Anyway, so it's a beautiful area, and I love flying it. It's really nice. So this is looking down behind the hill. We're going this way. This is the Hope Valley. That's the Lady Bower Reservoir. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Lots of valleys and lovely hills. Really, really nice. So we are making a reasonable fist of climbing. Is Leicester. And this is yet again Lady Bower looking out of the hills then and out into the flats. So starting our climb. We're going left, so it must have been Leicester's climb. He likes going. So yeah, round we go. So we're looking downwind now. This is the way we're going, and this is Hathersage, and there's a big valley. So you've got a big valley crossing. So you need to get high, get as high as you can. So we're getting up to cloud base nicely. That's one of the Scottish pilots, and yeah, somebody really nice and high here. If you fly this area a lot, some of them are really good. There's some really, really good pilots up there, and they fly out the peaks regularly. I mean, from Bradwell, this site, 200k, you know, it's a fabulous site to fly. So we're climbing and starting to leave the hill, really, and then heading out, crossing the valley and heading out this Chesterfield, I think, that way. Is that Chesterfield, or is that, no, that might be Sheffield. Yeah, because this is Hathersage below me here. Stanage is there. Stanage is another really good site, faces southwesterly, and they do decent distance to the coast from there as well. So we're heading off this way, across the valley over here. Nice bit of height, nice clouds. Clouds are working well. Looking back towards takeoff, Hathersage there and the valley. So we're sort of crossing across now. And I've flown out of the peaks a number of times now. And this works well here. There's usually a climb here. If you head off this way, it doesn't work so well, but this where the road goes through, I think it's somewhere called, I think it's Owler Bar, Baslow, and it works well. There's a little sort of lake pond thing up here, and there's usually a climb there fairly reliably. There's somebody else there already, car coming up, and so yeah, there's the climb back to Cloud Base. And then heading off. If you're going to fly out of the peaks, the thing to do is you're high anyway and you're looking out and it looks like, oh yeah, I'm really, really high. That's absolutely great. You need to be as high as you can get, because as you fly out of the peaks, as you leave the high ground, you will get washed. You'll get flushed down. And it's, yeah, just as high as you can. Cloud Base is good. And then you can head off. And even then, got to Cloud Base, but not low, but having to hunt again. Sunshine, nice cloud above, turning. So this is flying out. So we've made our climb here and crossing over, decent climb here again, Owler Bar, where the road goes through, and then flying out again. And picking up. I think Lester had a little story from Dronfield, didn't you, Lester? Didn't you get stuck down there for about half an hour one day?
I can't. Is that I can't remember which. We've done so many flights. I can't remember. I did one where I went over Dronfield, and my only landing option when I went over there was either a football pitch or a rugby pitch. But I managed. I got a really stonking climb from I think it must have been like a B&Q car park.
Well done.
So.
Oh look, Frogget! Yes.
Yeah, that's where we came from.
Excellent.
It's great climbing at Frogget Edge.
Yes, absolutely. Right, so on we go again. Right, so we're at Cloud Base. Yes, back up. Right, so we're away then. And probably I should have got a little bit higher, but there, you know, the clouds were pulling a bit. So now we're heading out, and we've headed out of the high ground, and the sky sort of opened up a bit now. There's quite a lot of blue, but there's also, you know, some nice clouds. Cloud Street here. The one thing with a comp is you've got a task to fly, so you can't just meander off in any direction and think, oh yeah, well that looks good, I'll go that way, because you actually need to fly the task, and you need to try and stick fairly closely to the task line as well. So climbing again, back up, nice sky, nice clouds, somebody up here nice and high. So I'm heading on, and this looks good. Yeah, okay, so let's, yeah, somebody up here, so it's all working, it's all good. Now we're heading on, I think, out, well out into the flat, and it is flat too. Yeah, he's up there, so I'm doing all right. So nice skies again. So you can see nice flat bottom clouds, nice bits of lift. They're a bit woolly, but they all seem to be working. It all seems to be working. Once you're up there, just pick the nearest decent bit to go for, really, and then head on. That's what we're doing. And I know I've got people ahead of me because I've seen them. They might not be in the comp, but anyway, so I'm heading on again and getting a bit low this time. So as I'm getting low, all this has got to be, something's got to be happening here. We've got the houses, we've got the sunshine, we've got the dry, cornfields that have been harvested or are being harvested. So something must work. And very often you'll find that a cloud shadow coming along will push something off. So here again, yeah, climbing back up to Cloud Base. Great. We've got a bit of a hole here. That's the only thing. I think I was going across there from memory. Yeah, it is a big hole, and crossing blue holes, everybody says don't cross blue holes, go round them. But if you have to go this way, it's a bit tricky because you'd be a long way out of your way. Right, so I'm heading across towards Mansfield. There's another glider here. This is where I made a big mistake. I saw this glider here and I thought, oh, great. Yeah, I know who that is. That's Brad. He'll find something. And I saw him, so I headed across to him and then he disappeared. And I didn't see which way he'd gone. And we're going this way. And it's sunny over there and there's all this shadowy bit. And so I was reasonably high at this point. And in fact, I got up to about £5,000. And stupidly, I just messed about here, thinking there'll be something. And there was something, but not enough. In fact, what I should have done is gone straight that way, not been distracted by him, and just headed over Mansfield. But in fact, I messed around. And then those of you who've seen one of my talks before will know what happened here. Because I messed about and then decided, oh yeah, I can go for the sunshine. Oh yeah, that'd be great. I'll get across there. There's gonna be something here. There will definitely be something here. Well, there wasn't. Could have landed here. This was all quarry. Oh no, it's a long way to go. Oh, there's a field there. Perhaps I'll go in there. I will get in there. I will get in there, and I did get in there. Just, in fact, I wasn't able to turn, and I landed downwind, as you can see, and I'd landed and I'd probably been there about 10 minutes surrounded by about 15 children asking me questions, and somebody came and thermaled out over my head, so I was well brassed off then. Anyway, I think I managed about 40 odd K of that particular task. As you can see, that's the track from CU. Sadly, I didn't make it, but I had an awful lot of fun. And my last climb, which I should have used properly, here, I got to £5,000. So I could have done quite a lot with that if I hadn't been distracted by looking at somebody else, you see. So there you go. 44 distance flown. So that's the end of my flying. So my debrief is, I try to be patient. Phil says I'm not a very patient person. I don't know why he says that, but he does. Anyway. I do try. If you can be a bit patient at Cloudbase and just gather your thoughts. You've worked hard and you've got there, so just gather your thoughts up before you go dashing off. Don't follow other people. I have followed somebody once and followed them nearly into airspace because I didn't know what they were doing. And they knew what they were doing, and I nearly, it was a bit of a mess. Anyway, so don't follow people. Know what your instrument's telling you and how it displays airspace for you, because it is very important. Like I said before, look down the route for airspace. Use some sort of comfort pad, tube, whatever it is you choose to do. Eat before. One thing I found, I was on a fairly long flight and I put my camel back in, great, and I hadn't had a quick suck on it before I took off, and the tube had got twisted, so I had no water for my entire flight because it's in the back and I couldn't untwist the tube. Like I said, make sure you've got a little stash of cash in your bag, just in case, nobody will take cards or something. I have also landed on a very, very hot day and realized I didn't have a sun hat, and walking in hot sunshine in the middle of the summer for any length of time is a recipe for a really bad headache. I've also had blisters for putting my wrong socks on because I've got terrible feet for hiking in boots. So yeah, so it's the little things that make all the difference. As I say, marginal gains. So there you go. See you in the sky. Hopefully,
thank you, Viv.
this year.
Very good.
Thanks, Viv.
That's it. That's me finished.
Thanks, Viv.
Any questions? Anybody want to know anything else, or did I tell you all you'd ever need to know?
Yeah, I did put a question up. I don't know if you got it or not.
Pardon?
I did write a question. You know, when you said you're going along, you're flying along, and say you get a little twitch on the right-hand side of the wing, does your seat plate tip you to the left, or have you got it done up quite tight?
I have a harness without a seat plate. So I don't have a seat plate in my harness. And when you say twitches, explain again, please.
If you're flying along and you've just got a tiny little bit of pressure on the brakes. Hopefully this won't switch off. My battery's getting low.
Okay.
Yeah, you're flying along, got a tiny little bit of pressure on the brakes, and then you can feel a little twitch on your right hand. So you know you've got a little bit of lift on the right. Well, my seat plate will tip to the left, so then I know I've got to go around to the right to get into the thermal. But if you don't fly with a seat plate, then are you just going by feeling on your hands?
Yeah, I fly. I don't have a huge amount of pressure on my brakes, just very, very light. And if your wing lifts on one side, you usually want to turn towards that side. Different people tell you different things. Some people say count 4 elephants and then turn. Some people say turn a little bit left and then turn right. It depends on the day. I mean, when you've flown around for a little bit, you'll find out what sort of day it is and what is being offered to you, basically, by the thermals. If it's a really strong day and you're getting pushed around a lot, then you have to be quite strong when you're turning. But if the wing lifts, you usually turn towards the lifting wing. Whether you turn sooner or later is you know, up to you. Try you want to try it. If you're flying somewhere like Backham or Bell where you're finding stuff and you're not immediately wanting to climb away, just fly about and, you know, try different things and see which works best.
Hopefully Backham will be open by the time we get back there.
Yeah, well, anything really. You can practice thermaling. You can practice thermaling anywhere, really. You know, Woolacombe is a really good place. Bossington, Backham, Bell, hunting. You want to practice without being, in your early days, don't be too fixed about getting away from the hill, because some days if you're not going to go very far, you'll learn much more staying at the hill and practicing thermaling than you will taking one climb, falling out of it, flying 5k and walking back, because the time it takes you to do that will probably be an hour and a half, and you could have had an hour and a half's flying. So yeah. Have we lost Richard again? Has he gone? Or is he still there?
Everybody's frozen on my screen apart from you.
Oh, have they? Right.
Probably the best way to be.
Yeah,
It's very unreliable, Richard.
I can't reach the plug, so
I can't see. Can I see everybody? No, I think Richard might have gone again, which is a bit sad.
He's very unreliable, Richard, isn't he? He always disappears.
Yeah, well, we're being rude about him, so he must have gone. I'm recording anyway, so there you go. Right, anybody else got anything else to ask? We've been going for an hour and a half, so anything else anybody wants to know?
I've got a question, Viv.
Yep.
I really enjoyed the talk. Thanks. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed looking at some of your flights. But I was wondering, so I've not done much XC. I've done some small ones where I get a bit of height and then leave the hill somewhat, but not that far. Are you always prepared with your navigation and stuff whenever you fly, say early on? Because I haven't used XC track that much, and I know there's a talk on it soon, but would you say being prepared to go XC? Because I think that's one of my things. I think having everything ready nav-wise, I guess, is...
Have everything. What's happening? Somebody said, right, yeah, sorry Dale.
They're on charge. It won't work on my charge.
Right, that gets rid of that. Right, yes, sorry. I always have all my kit in my bag. If you don't, the day you don't take everything will be the day when it could have been a brilliant flight, and for whatever reason, you didn't have this, that, or the other, so you missed it. If you always put everything, if you have a minimum of kit that you keep with you all the time, you're always prepared. And it's not a problem for you then to go. And you don't have to worry. You don't have to think, oh, well, I have to land because. Have everything in your bag and be ready. And then you don't turn down any opportunity, really. But do look, and don't say to yourself, oh, I'm not going to fly that far. Be confident. If you don't fly that far, it doesn't matter. But if you should happen to fly that far, you know, you're going to have a really good time. But don't be too focused on distance. It's quality of flight. Did you enjoy it? Did you learn anything? Was it good fun?
Yeah.
Can
That's
I add
why we're
something to
here.
Yes.
I had something to that. So I was sitting there getting all excited about going XC, and I got Fly Sky High, and I plotted all my waypoints, and I was like, well, I'll go there, and then 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 my brother looked at me and said, what are you doing? Just put a pin in the end point, because as you go, you don't want to like have to go through all these points. You just want to put the pin, like, so we you know, put the pin in Weymouth when you're in Westbury, and then at least gives you a direction to go in. Because otherwise, if you go past it, then you'll be trying to go back, and you'll be sitting there going, no, I don't want to go to that one. Go for the next one. So he was saying, just go to the next one and just put a pin in miles away, and then just aim for that. Would you agree?
I don't do declared flights normally. The only time really I'm flying a task is if I'm doing a comp. And I do the BP Cup. I don't do a great deal of foreign comps, I have to say. But I made the mistake. We were on Selsley one day, and it was going to be a good day. A lot of good people there, and they were going, "Oh yeah, we'll fly to, I don't know, Arundel or Chichester or somewhere like that." And I was like, "Well, I'm never going to fly that far." So Annie from North Devon and I said, "Oh well, we'll fly to Marlborough. Let's put a waypoint on the Marlborough golf course," which we did. We then took off, and I actually flew past the waypoint that I put in. And for the rest of my flight, and I flew on another 30 odd K, it was telling me to go back. And I didn't know the instrument, and I couldn't take it out. And it was a real distraction, because it was, the arrow was going to me, go the other way, go the other way. And it was, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
So,
that's my concern, fiddling around with your phone whilst flying, and then you're not concentrating.
No, you can't do it. So either don't put a waypoint in at all, or do what Jerry's brother said, because he knows his stuff, doesn't he? Your brother, he knows his stuff.
He does, yes, he does,
Yeah, he does, just a bit. So yeah, put it in far enough away to give you a marker, or don't put anything in and just go downwind, you know. Enjoy the clouds, enjoy the view. Anybody else? No? That
That's
it?
great, thanks, Viv. Very
Okay, well, lovely to see you all, and we'll get some of it recorded, I think. I'm not sure quite. Richard's, he sent me a message saying his internet's gone down again. So lovely to see you all. Thank you very much for listening, and see you on ahead. We got Tim's talk tomorrow. Tim, is it?
Tim and Tim, yeah, Timothy Bishop. Yeah,
Tim Bishop and Tim Gentry, Fly Sky High and XC Track. So that should be interesting. So have some questions for them. Okay, lovely to see you. Okay,
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.